All right, we're live. We are here with DM Blackwall. We are going to be discussing crafting, editing, updating a alien species for Dropship. You and I have had a conversation in the waiting room regarding the different alien species. You have been ever so gracious enough to allow me to select the race or species, more I guess accurately, that we are going to be taking a look at. And I have selected the Balmori because of how incredibly interesting I find them. So I want to kind of just jump right in, if that's okay. Like, you and I have talked a lot in the waiting room, behind the scenes. I think that we're at a really good point to kind of just get going.
Sure.
So whatever you have, if you need me to share a screen, if you need me to just shut up, Bacon. I'm happy to do that too.
Well, I do, but I do want you to get started. I do want to get started, but before I do, can you tell them what you got out of the Balmori and their two species society? Can you explain what it is we're talking about for anyone who might be watching?
Yes. So the Balmori are they're a dual species faction, I'll call it, and they're aquatic. Both of them are aquatic. The way that their world formed, insofar as I envision it, and this is from my imagination, you've given me the details, but insofar as I imagine it, is that their planet was atmosphere-less, and so their planet kind of backed right up to space itself, the vacuum of space, and the water that was contained on the planet as a result of coming into contact with the vacuum has frozen. And over time, beneath that ice-crusted layer, there has been melt and runoff. So they exist in a space that's between the ice shell and the core of their planet. Now, within this particular planet, there are like gas caverns, I think you described them as, for the melt having taken place, and different natural chemical reactions. And there are two. So I'm sure I'm gonna botch this, and so you please feel free to correct me. But like, there's kind of like a stream of consciousness almost, because I'm thinking about something and I'm talking about one thing. I'm getting excited about the thing I'm thinking about. So the way that this works is that, like, it's a moon of Jupiter, I believe. So there's a moon
in real life. There's a moon in our solar system.
Yes, this is not. They are not located on a moon of Jupiter, but as a reference for this type of celestial body, there is a moon on Jupiter that behaves in this sort of way. It has an ice shell, and we don't know what's underneath of it, but it could be this sort of a situation. But what we do know is that periodically it will sort of eject water or liquid, whatever it is, beneath the ice crust. It will eject it out into the vacuum of space for a weakness in the ice shell and the vacuum, or whatever the actual natural phenomena is. But it's also, the ice is self-sealing, so it only ejects for a certain period of time before there's a flash freeze that takes place and just completely seals it over again. So as you can imagine, living within this type of environment on this type of planet, you want to be as far away from the ice crust as possible. And so that's how this species, or this co-species, has organized themselves. So there's the one ruling species, I'll call them, and they are as close, like, the further down into the water you go, the closer you get to the core of the planet, the more prestige there is associated with that dwelling, because you're safer, because you're further away from the ice crust. You're not, there's no danger of being ejected. But the lower down in the society you are, the closer to that ice crust you likely inhabit. And so one day it could just shoot you out into the void and you're dead, and that's all there is to it. It's not going to take everyone, but it might take you. And so just all of this I find drastically fascinating, because it's atypical. Like, it's when you talk about space, in science fiction, or in fantasy, it is not uncommon to come upon the lava planet or the ice planet or the jungle planet or whatever that you would come across. It is an ice planet, but it's not in the traditional sense, right? It's not really technically an ice planet. It just has an ice shell, and there is liquid water under that, and there is an entire, evolution that's taken place within these two different species, and many others. I'm sure it's not just inhabited by these two sentient species. There are other developing life forms, and so that's why I like. And do you mind? Can I mention some of the others?
Yeah, you can mention.
Like in comparison, because you presented quite a lot to me. I don't know if it's everything. You presented quite a lot to me, and you let me choose. And like, there is an insectoid species which I find incredibly interesting. There is a photosynthetic pirate species that if I didn't choose this one, that was going to be the one that I chose. They're just a lot of interesting creatures or factional species, whatever you want to call it. But this one in particular, and it happened to be the first one that we talked about.
Yeah.
And this one in particular, I just found very fascinating. I thought that the world was incredible. I thought that, thinking about how the geopolitics would work, thinking about how the evolutionary, stratification would work, I just find interesting. Now, I know that we're only going to be talking about this particular faction, the co-species that inhabit it. But even in the background, thinking about these other types of organisms that might exist, how it actually could look under the surface of the ice shell, all that's going to be in the background. And so that's going to be, those are going to be playing in my mind as we go. So is that what you wanted? Does that sufficiently? Okay, great.
Pretty much. And then the main thing for anyone who might be wondering is the difference between the two physically. So physically, the deep Balmori, the ones living further down in their oceans, those are more crustacean or lobster based, and are physically stronger, more powerful, and more heavily naturally armored compared to the Balmori that live closer to the surface. The ones that live closer to the surface of the planet are something more akin to squidmen. That was not our original design for them, their look. However, we, as much as possible, Nate and I have taken pains to make sure that since we don't produce miniatures, that there are miniatures that you can get for the various factions. And Squidman miniatures, those exist. Though that's easily purchasable or craftable. But so our original design, it was like, nah, it's not going to work. As far as physical miniatures existing, it's like, okay, we'll have to do something a little different here. And so our original design had both species as being crustacean-like, but this change, I think, will really help you if you want to use miniatures when you play character scale combats out. Just from availability and cost perspective for the customer.
And of course, it's mini agnostic, so you can pick up whatever minis you want from whatever producer.
You can, but certain kinds are really hard to acquire. For example, if you want to make, unless you're making your own STLs and doing 3D prints and dealing with the associated upsides and downsides, it is actually quite difficult to find decent miniatures of mantis men, for example.
Really?
Which I was surprised by.
I believe you, but I find it seems like such a gimme, right? Like it just seems like Thrycreen have been around forever.
Yeah, but finding like reasonably priced and available mantis men, I found like 2 models, both STL types. There are a bunch of other ones that have been made, but you're going to be paying, $7 plus a miniature. That's not good if you want to battle against, say, 20 guys. That'd make a table setup really expensive.
Yes, it would.
So we've tried to make choices to help people. be able to have tabletop gameplay, because that's as much as possible what we want to encourage. You can totally play online, Horde Wars, which we have out currently, or you can play when Dropship comes out. You can play it online, Theater of the Mind, but it's definitely meant to be played around a table in person with your friends and acquaintances, or with strangers, and often, though not always, using miniatures, because especially in this game, unlike Horde Wars, there's going to be a lot more stuff that you don't have a real life reference for.
Sure.
And so having something to help you picture the battlefield, or picture the opponent, or for that matter, picture the position of maybe 8 different spaceships relative to one another. It'll be helpful to use miniatures, or even just a grid map and some dice for that sort of thing.
You're a cluster on Manasman.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what's up, Stag? Thanks for showing up.
So let me get this set up. So I want to share this. Come on, StreamYard, let me do it. Okay, no. Share. There we go.
All right, I'm gonna toss it up. Unless you're not ready.
No, it's ready.
Cool. There we go.
So I can't zoom in on this a ton. I can do a little bit to make it bigger. I think you've got a little control as well. But the idea here is that we want to present you with some useful stat blocks. So this would include like primary combatants for the species, as well as a few non-combatants you'd be likely to run into, like when you aboard one of their space stations or board one of their starships. So we'd want to include like some crewmen, thus the heading there, or
sure,
like a scientist or that kind of thing. A little bit of that as well.
But see Ard peeking out from down there, just barely.
Yeah. And so thinking about the Balmori and their society that we've talked about, is there one that you'd be a role you'd be excited to think about with me, or would you like to play around with a basic crewman or a guard first and see what we come up with?
I love mundanity. I love the standard humdrum, because I feel like as a player myself, I feel like getting a handle on the day-to-day, or the lowliest of society. And in my job, I often describe myself as a lowly tester, which everyone laughs at, but it's kind of true, because you can see everything that's going on above you, and a lot of people can't see what's going on under them. And so you have this different, nuanced perspective that a lot don't have. And so experiencing that mundanity in a fantasy setting or in a sci-fi setting really sort of helps ground me and my mindset. So I'd like to actually start with a crewman or a guard, or just sort of, the regular humdrum drudgery of the bottom rungs of their society.
That sounds good. Now, I do want to, I'll find it later. I do have a piece of Balmori concept art for the actual for the Deep Balmori that I can show off later. I'll have to find it though. That one we commissioned a while back, and so it's buried somewhere. But so the idea, so you're probably, and I'm going to quick scroll down to check something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. You're probably familiar. You've looked at Horde Wars anyway. You're probably familiar with some of the monster design ideas that we've done in there. For example, that we've kind of hidden or embedded kind of minion rules in there by presenting weaker stat blocks and stronger ones.
Oh yes.
Powers and this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So the crewman, really, he should be the weakest dude. He shouldn't be useless, but he should not be the most powerful.
Right. He's just shoveling coal into the furnace. He's just making the thing go, making the engine run.
Yeah. And so Well, first of all, the Balmori have this trait as a species, actually as both species, called Avenger. And it has them do an extra die of damage if you've wounded one of their allies that day. Now, this is meant to reflect their highly stratified society and basically them taking great offense at you killing either their superiors or, for one of the superiors, his minion.
Gotcha.
It isn't so much a sign of their close friendship bonds.
No. It is a slight. You have perpetrated a slight against them.
You have
affected their station.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, to me, I think that the first thing to look at with the Balmori crewmen is weaponry. Would you picture these guys as being particularly well armed, or would you say that they've maybe got, pistols and wrenches?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much like a standard issue sidearm. They were likely. This comes from, this comes from personal experience with the military, but I mean, they likely received a basic training of some sort. I'm sure that they have a sidearm on them during their daily goings on. I don't know if they would necessarily have some sort of long fire rifle or long gun. They would likely have received training with it. But that's a human American concept. So for all I know, if these individuals, the crewmen, are sort of disposable, I mean, they live on an ice crust that can just flush them out into space, for crying out loud. Like, I can't imagine you would want to necessarily waste resources on intense training and arming them in a way that you would arm, say someone who lives deeper into the deeper toward the core. So I think that maybe a pistol would likely be okay. You give them something so that they can become a part of the fighting force if need be, because you don't want them to just occupy space or get slaughtered wholesale if there's a boarding action or something. But I can't imagine this particular species blowing resources like that on someone who could just get flushed out into space anyway.
That makes sense. So this is one of the pistol stat blocks that we've got. Now, I've adjusted it in one way, which is I've given him only one attack. Now, if this was a player character who was trained with pistols, who had that fighting style, he'd already have 2 attacks. The reason to do this is game mechanics as well as reflecting expertise. Realistically, the crewmen aren't going to be as expert with firearms as their actual trained soldier contemporaries.
Sure.
And so one of the ways to show this is rate of fire of aimed shots, as well as their odds of hitting you. And so I switched this to a single attack. Now, this could still kill you. So it's a D10, but you're adding the Avenger thing. And it's elemental damage. They could roll well, or they could crit. You have 18 hit points as a starting character. Like, this can already just kill you.
They could just take you out. Okay. Lucky shot, you're dead.
Yeah, yeah. But then the question is, what minor ability does this crewman have to usefully contribute to the ship? I can quick jump down to an example here of other ones that we're working on, where one of the squee has this damage control kit, and he's an actual damage control specialist.
Okay, make an engineer check against an adjacent starship's defense. If you succeed at this repair, the target regains 5 hit points. The damage control kit can never raise the target above half its maximum hit points. Okay, so he can repair starship defenses.
The hit points, the hull, hull breaches, that kind of thing.
Okay.
You can restore hit points, but the normal use of a damage control kit is only 2 hit points.
Oh, I see.
So he's actually good at this.
Because that's what he was trained to do.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we have? What does a cold-blooded aquatic disposable crewman have at his disposal or at their disposal to be able to contribute in a worthwhile way?
Yeah, because there's lots of possibilities, but I'm curious what you'd in a void, what you'd be like, this kind of thing. Like what would you, without looking at tons and tons of options, what would you think to do?
Yeah, this is a question. And I'm first of all, I am thrilled that this is the process that we're going through. Like, it's not just a stat block. We're actually building this guy. I'm thrilled that we're doing this here. So let me think about this without providing too much dead air. So can you give me a bit more information? So can I ask what their purpose for venturing out into space would be? Why are they at odds with who they're at odds with? Why are they? Because I don't think we discussed this with a couple of the other races. I don't think we quite got there with these guys.
Well, they obviously are interested in additional resources, additional planets, and their contents. But also, yes, this is an expansionist, almost British style empire. So they don't want you dead. They want you under their thumb and providing them with benefits.
So they want you signed up.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Press ganged.
And for the surface Balmori, from their point of view, this adds to their stratified society a lower layer.
Because if you're out past the ice shell, yep, you're much lower than they are. You know, yes, lower. Okay. So let's do some manner of something that has to do with resources, gathering resources, maybe fitting resources into a hold of some sort. Like they can fit, provided the space of a specific hold, they're able to really kind of play that game of Tetris and fit things into a cargo hold a little bit better to sort of create the resources where they need to go. I don't know if that's really good. Like repairing seems great.
Well, yeah, repairing is useful in battle, but let me give you
and my dumb brain defaults to non-combat time and time and time again, which might end up thwarting me here royally.
Let me try to find something here. So
sure, take your time.
I think if you want to talk about like so their main skill, if you look here, is investigate. They also have training in their laws. They're a pretty legalistic society. They have science training, and they're trained with starships. They're good at these things. The normal crewmen are not particularly good with engineering or computers. That is specialists. But they are observant.
Well, that sort of keeps things... That makes the example that I provided a lot more prescient with regard to me being, quote unquote, a lowly tester, but having a perspective that people who are looking down on the code or on the test environments might not necessarily have. And it allows me to find things or to work within a structured functionality in ways that others either aren't aware of or don't really have a use for, but can provide a great amount of utility. So let me think about this. Because I don't know if I know, I don't think I know Horde Wars really well enough. And even if I did, this is likely drastically different.
No, same core mechanics. I mean, there's obviously some genre-specific things and a whole set of rules for starship combat.
Right. So what do I want them to be able to do? I don't know. Can we continue forward and I'll think about it as we go?
We can,
okay.
but that's like one of the next things that you'd want to think about, to go, okay, well, what is particularly useful about a Balmori crewman? One, because it is theoretically possible that the players could capture or befriend one. That could happen in a campaign. Would that be normal in the universe? No, that would not be normal. But if it did happen, How does this guy contribute? Is he any use? Also, is what in a so that's a gaming sense, but also then in their society. Why are what are their crew especially trained to do? For example, in World War II, the Japanese were incredibly badly trained when it came to fire suppression. It cost them a lot of ships.
Okay.
The US, our crews, our normal crews, were pretty heavily trained in fire suppression. And as a result, a number of our ships that we would have lost were salvaged, were saved. And this really came into play when it comes to aircraft carriers in particular. That this cost the Japanese at least 2 or 3 carriers in a single battle, where their lack of good fire control and firefighting cost them those vessels permanently. And that's an example of general training that would be true for the crew. And it's not that the Japanese weren't good at stuff, they were, but the thing that they weren't good at was fighting fires, as it turned out.
Okay.
And that, as a result, by contrast, you can see that that's something the U.S. was good at.
Right.
The Japanese mostly had better pilots at the beginning of the war. However, they took a very different philosophy to the U.S., where the Japanese put their best pilots on the front as much as possible. The U.S. actually rotated the best pilots back in country as instructors. And that meant over time that the best Japanese pilots eventually got killed in combat. And most of the best US pilots, even the ones who were killed in combat, often had a 1 or 2 year period as instructors first, where they were training a new batch of good pilots.
Gotcha.
And these are differences just kind of in philosophy, you know? And so that sort of thing. I think because this is a very, monarchical or stratified society, our idea is that they're going to have like a specialized bridge officer stat block,
right?
Who is especially good at command and control.
Okay.
And so these guys would be under that dude. And what are they what are they good at? Now, when it comes to the rest of this stat block, we need to think about, do these guys wear armor?
I wouldn't think so.
And if not, because we're ignoring for now perception and these statistics. These are easy to fill in once we're done with the other stats.
Right.
But is there anything physiologically about these guys that is important to notice, or psychologically? So, for example, for the Inlari, their telepathy is listed in all of their stat blocks. Or for the Squee, their cowardice is listed. And then for creatures with like natural weapons, you would include that in the stat block. Like if there is a natural weapon attack that is significant. If it is the equivalent of a human fist, it is generally not worth listing. But if it's truly dangerous as an individual blow, then it's worth repeating. So, for example, the Deep Balmori will almost certainly have physical attacks listed.
Okay, that makes sense.
Same Krill, where the insect dudes would have pretty focused physical attacks.
Is there a way that we could express an adaptability? Because here's my reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
If their comrades, if their fellows are being blown out into space constantly, it makes sense that they would have to fill those gaps rapidly, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they would have to adapt to be able to fill gaps. Is there some sort of expression in the mechanics that we could use to represent that?
Well, it would probably be some kind of, let me quick check what the base rule is. So we've got two different guys who play around, two different things that play around with morale. And I want to look at the Marine officer real quick in a side window, because he has, he has an ability to manipulate opposing morale rolls. Basically, they roll twice, take the lower result if they're within visual range of a human Marine officer.
Okay.
Out to a certain distance. That was just a minor thing that he gets. But what I'm thinking about is doing kind of the reverse of the squee, where these guys are, if they have to roll morale, are more inclined to stay.
I like that idea. I think that makes a lot of sense.
That would definitely be, I think, a pretty good possibility. And then as far as the other goes, yeah, let me see if I can find that. So if we go down to the squee in this document, who, by the way, if for those who are wondering, are a kind of space goblin. We're not going to say that.
Aptly named kind of space goblin.
Thank you. We're not going to say that in the rules, but that is definitely what they are. So normal morale rules are the same as in Horde Wars. And I have to quick pull them up, make sure I don't get them wrong. That would be embarrassing. But normal morale is you roll a 1 or a 2, or you roll a d4. 1 or 2 they break and run. 3 fighting withdrawal. 4 they fight to the death.
Mm-hmm.
The coward is high odds of surrender, break and run, or fighting withdrawal. So here we want the reverse. We want when you roll morale, like that's the trigger. If you don't roll morale, this is irrelevant. On a 1 or a 2, so normally that would be break and run. Maybe on a 1, you break and run. On a 2, fighting withdrawal. And then on a 4, or 3 or 4, now we have to deal with where if we do this, where would we want the odds weighted? We also have to work with spacing on the page. Any thoughts on that?
Any thoughts on how we want to weight this? I think that half of a chance of them fighting to the death seems appropriate. So
you're thinking like
3 or 4? Yeah, I think on a 3 or 4, fighting to the death seems appropriate because this is their life. This is what they do all the time. They're not really fazed by the next guy over getting plugged or whatever happens to have happened to them. Yeah, I like that.
Now, let's see what happens if I scoot the margin out slightly. Yeah, okay. That's close enough. I'm willing to play with it, unless you've got a suggestion for wording to trim like a letter or 2.
Okay, let me see here. When you roll morale, on a 1, you can probably eliminate that. You can just say on a 1, break and run. On a 2, begin a fighting withdrawal. On a 3 or 4, fight to the death. That I don't know. That might be a just a broad edit because these are for species that are non-player characters.
However, all of our monsters are phrased this way, and that is deliberate.
Okay, gotcha. So
because you, the game master, are taking on their role.
Okay.
And sometimes, if you get minions, the player will be controlling them. And actually, the reason that we did that this way for Horde Wars is a lot of modern games will say something like, will abstract the terminology.
Right.
They'll say something like, when this creature rolls for morale, on a 1, he or she breaks and runs. On a 2, and so on. Or maybe on a 1, they break and run.
Gotcha.
On a 2, they... The upshot is that modern writing actually eats up a lot of page space. It adds, what did we find? It added like 30% to the length of the document writing that way.
Wow, that's so much.
And whereas if you simply use masculine inclusive language, like English in the 1980s, and use the word you, you trim a whole bunch of length, and people do understand what it means.
Okay.
But that's why it's written that way, is actually because in general it saves space.
Gotcha. Here, that makes sense. Yeah, 30% is too much. It's
huge.
It's like way too much.
Ridiculous the amount of length it adds that style of writing.
So we need to get the death on that second line there. You roll them around.
Yeah, pretty much.
On a 1, you break and run. On a 2, you begin a fighting withdraw. And on a 3, you fight to the death. So the issue that we're encountering is
about,
it's like a character
space.
Yeah.
It's and that's something that, you know, a lot of people don't think about when it comes to game design. But you have to think about this on a page. How is this going to fit? And if it doesn't fit, should you change it? In some cases, no. Some cases, you shouldn't change it. But in most cases, yeah, you should modify your writing to fit the space that you have as much as possible.
I agree with that.
And so I can do this, and to most people, and probably in a final version, we would come over here, or we might shrink the font slightly. Actually, no, we won't shrink the font. Playing with the margins, this amount is basically invisible to your average reader.
Right.
A professional layout artist will notice. But you'd only notice if you laid out your book so that you saw multiple pages side by side. If you had multiple books open to multiple pages, then you'd be like, oh, this one, the margin's a little over. But if you're just, or if you do a flip through like a cartoon, you might catch it. But generally speaking, if you're just flipping through a book normally or reading this as a PDF, it's not going to stand out.
To most, I actually have a background in desktop publishing, so I would likely catch it.
To most.
And I also catch colors. Colors are a huge, like a different, like a red that's not quite as red as the other red. It's going to leap off the page to me, but
yeah,
I'm struggling to figure out where we can edit this because the language is already so tight. It looks like the reason is because on a 1 you break and run. Previously, it was on a 1 or 2 you try to surrender, and so we're trying to reconcile you try to surrender against you fight to the death. So there's like a whole extra word in there. I'm going to guess it's like 2 to 3 characters.
Yep, something like that.
Fight to the death. How better to phrase you fight to the death? Because we can't change the others, because you break and run and you begin a fighting withdrawal is language that's standardized and used elsewhere, such as in the cowardly.
Same is true if you fight to the death. It doesn't mean it can't be changed. This uses the normal morale terminology. It simply messes with the odds. Gotcha. Normally, it would be a 1 or a 2 for this, a 3 for this, and a 4 for this.
Gotcha. So that's what's causing that overhang.
Yeah. But that amount of spacing, like I said, it's not a problem. And you'll notice on the right column, it actually fits.
Yes, it does.
Because these are currently it looks like it's slightly offset. I don't know that will fix it, but I am, as this is a working file, but I am curious.
No, it's very funny that Balmori Guard have stand fast. I didn't read that far down.
No, I just pasted it there.
Oh, you just put it there. Okay.
Yeah. If I hit undo, it'll go away.
So. Gotcha. Okay.
But logically, if the crewman has it, the soldiers really should.
For sure. Yes, for sure.
Now, whether or not this is a species-wide thing may not be the case.
Right. I envision this being... This is very, superficial. This is going to be the Balmori who are closer to the shell. In my, obviously not my game. It's not my pig, not my farm. But in my imagination, in my mind's eye, that's how it's kind of shaking loose.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And for those who are watching, who have, questions or looking at this later, the you'll see here that I'm using original formatting from some Horde Wars stuff. So there's still some like dwarf names lingering there. Yes. That'll go away.
During the Balmori.
Yeah. No, it's basically hanging out there as a reminder that we want to put in names and other things for these guys, that we don't want to, that there should be some lore sidebars actually. So this is a visual reminder to future me to go, hey, you should
do something with this.
Yeah. So Balmori having good morale, I think, is fine. But if we're gonna do that, probably
Balmori Cyborg.
Yeah, that's not the name. That's just a note for an idea that we had.
Okay.
But let's see what happens if we throw this in there. Spacing wise, because the deep Balmori would not have it. They're a different physical species. They would have different traits. But if their minions are at this well trained, which is possible, then I think we should.
Yeah, I think it fits with the British Empire analog. I think it fits with the their particular physical circumstance.
Yeah, I think so. Let me bring this over. There we go. So I think that's pretty fun. And then is there more for this dude other than, of course, the saving throws, the attributes, and the perception? Perception is basically something that we're going to go through and fill in afterwards, because we may wind up developing an additional type of perception. Currently, just to give you an idea, and that's true for the monsters as well. Currently, if can I zoom in on this? Will it let me? Yes. Can you see that tab? There we go. Currently, there are standard perception, night vision, thermal imaging, and echolocation.
Okay. Standard.
However, we may develop another sort, for example, like a life sense type thing.
Okay.
Particularly for the Sarlaccs.
Sure.
Or possibly for the Inlari. With their telepathic powers. And so if we do that and make that like a standardized thing, we need to make sure to add it to the definitions. And that would be later on as a backfill thing. We actually do have something like that written for the superhero game that we're also working on. So it would not be hard to port over if we find it to be of use. But I wanted to show you this so you could get an idea of what the perceptions are. I don't know if that's clear enough to read or if I should zoom in.
No, I can see it. I can see it plenty good. I mean, it's not echolocation. Not night. Maybe night vision, maybe thermal imaging. Because I guess that'll differ between the two different, the co-species. Those who are deeper are going to have to see with some sort of augmentation. And maybe those who are surface dwellers aren't, maybe they don't. Maybe they just have standard vision.
Yeah, I think probably that they'll have night vision, and so they'll be able to see in the dark, because that would make sense. It'd be a relatively dimly lit world anyway.
Yeah, sure.
But they probably can't see through like smoke and fog, or like a squid's ink in the water.
Yep, that makes sense.
But the deep Balmori probably can. I think for them that probably would be
thermal.
Yeah,
I would think so too.
Also, good evening, PH Arbex.
Oh, hey PH, what's up? Thanks for stopping by.
And then if we jump back here, so stand fast. I like that. It's a cool idea. Is there anything else that this guy needs to have, other, because he's got like his normal skills? He can operate the ship, or do you feel that this is sufficient? To give you a comparison, because I've been doing some work here and there in some other spots. A Inlari crewman basically just looks like this. It's pretty simple. We can add more. There will be space on the page, but this gives him the minimum stuff required to function as a member of his species, who can also operate a starship.
Can we go back to the Balmori so I can take a look and see what exactly we have there?
We can.
So Avenger, stand fast, and then the phase pistol. I think that's good. I think that looks good for now in this moment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me go here, unmerge.
Because I don't want to get like too out of control there, and I could do that in like immediately.
Fair enough. Let me merge those. And then, yeah, we can get rid of a few of these lines. Probably this one as well. And merge. Yeah, that's a little better. All right. So the Balmori Guard. Now this guy should be a little more competent as a fighter.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now I don't recall, maybe the Viscarans. I don't recall if I've got any of the guards statted out. We have an earlier draft of the rules where a bunch of these guys are statted out, but we are actively editing or rewriting those stat blocks, because it was not that they were bad. It's just our rule set has changed substantially since they were written. Sure. Okay, so this dude, basically we're trying to provide a couple different attack modes and then like a useful combat capability with anything needed for the species as well. So we should wind up with like, because again, this is not a complicated dude.
Right.
We want to have like 4 or 5 total things here. So for a Balmori guard or soldier who you could encounter potentially vast numbers of. Let me look at the Viscaran again a second. I'm trying to remember, did we give him? Yeah. He's rolling around with 2 attacks. And we glance at the not the Inlari, the hierarchy as well. There should be some unity of design in these things, you know. Squeegard rolling around with a single attack, but that's because he's one of the weaker stat blocks. I think the Viscaran probably should also be there. I'm going to flip that to match for now. and then we'll go back up there. Because our goal is for you to be able to board an enemy ship and have a chance of taking that ship and a chance of dying horribly.
My favorite.
Both should be outcomes that are possible. And if you have, say, an enemy crew that's in the hundreds or thousands, that won't be every crew. Some crew will be in the, tens or dozens, or, maybe there's 5 guys on like a light freighter or something. But in general, if you're boarding like an enemy military vessel that's fully crewed and they've got, hundreds or maybe thousands of opponents on board, some of whom are actually trained to do person-to-person fighting, to do man-scale combat, are infantry or marine equivalents. You're gonna have potentially entire platoons, or on larger ships maybe an entire company as a response force to stop your boarding party.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So so the higher level guys should be individually capable regularly of killing a player character. This dude, on average, should lose the guard.
Okay.
2 of them, on average, should be able to kill a player character. Now, because averages aren't reality, dice don't have a memory, and a guard who's, say, rolling a d12, adds another d12 and crits, could theoretically do 48 damage.
Right.
That's just not what will usually happen.
Right.
So the question is, what to give this guy? One, is he? So this is still the Squidmen ones.
Right.
Is he wearing armor?
Yes.
Okay. And is it light armor or heavy?
I would think that it's going to be likely light armor.
Okay. So that gives us our defense value, hit points, skills. So unlike the other guy whose skills are matching those of the baseline crews for the Balmorry starships, we don't have assigned skills here. But I think it's pretty obvious that he should have combat.
Yes.
Yeah, if his job is a soldier. The question is, what other skills does this guy have? Because that might affect what other abilities that we would think about.
Okay.
Giving him. And so,
what other skills do we have available, or is this similar to Horde Wars?
I will pull up the list. It is similar to Horde Wars, but just get over there and get pre-zoomed in. There. See this skill list?
Yes.
There.
All right. Athletics, combat, maybe athletics, not commerce, not computers, not culture, cybernetics, engineer, faith, influence, intuition, maybe investigate. So he's going to be the force that you encounter on, player characters breach the Balmorry ship. It's probably going to be, they'll be waiting for you with this type of, guard.
Plus some of the higher level guys. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's not going to be just guards. So combat is a shoe-in.
Yeah.
And I have 4. So I think athletics might be a good one. Let me think about this.
Now, one other thing to note, which may not be intuitive, is the engineer skill is also the skill for bombs. Grenades, explosives of various kinds.
Oh, well, I think that's one for sure, because, as a guard, they likely will have received training in that. Again, in my brain, that's how it happens. So engineering is a good one. So we got combat, we got engineering, we have athletics, and
if we give him a bomb, if we give him a grenade or a flamethrower or a rocket launcher or whatever it might be, if we give him if we don't give it to him, there's no point in adding the skill, because that then just maybe we give it to one of the higher level guys. But that's something to consider. Another is, Nate and I thought it would be fun, because of the nature of this society, for the Balmori to be really into cybernetics.
Okay.
As a way to enhance their value and thus their station. Because now they can do more stuff. They are therefore more valuable and could potentially effectively increase in social standing.
And that's where the Balmori cyborg concept came from. Yeah. Okay.
But it's not that we want to have just him have cyborg, just the one cyborg. We do want there to be more than one.
Right.
But the intent behind it really has to do with essentially a stratified society and how can you climb the ranks. Well, it's not, since it's mostly based on your species. You can't change your species. It's not an option. What you could do is change your relative capabilities within.
Right.
And so that's.
I like giving him cybernetics.
If I jump over here, I'm going to show you a few of those. So you get some idea of what I'm talking about. And we have to think about what would be worth it.
Auto injector would probably be worth it. Artificial lung, possibly not. I mean, they're aquatic, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it could if they're in some sort of gaseous environment, but cerebral, cyber nerves. Well, maneuvers are for starships, so maybe not cyber nerves.
No.
Cerebral enhancement, I think, for sure.
Characters have maneuvers.
Oh, okay. Data port. Maybe not for a guard. Hydraulic joints, yeah. Especially if we give them acrobatics, right? So I think acrobatics and cybernetics could really play nicely together like that.
They would.
Medical nanites. Yeah, I think cybernetics it's a very good thing to give him. Targeting. Second liver. Armor, yep. Transceiver, possibly. Yeah. I like giving him cybernetics. So we've got combat. I also like giving him athletics because, he's a guard, he's a soldier. And cybernetics. And then we have one more to give him.
Assuming, again, that we're going to give him actual cybernetics.
Right.
But yes.
So that, I guess that kind of, we maybe should pause here to have a conversation about whether or not that would make sense. Is that an idea that you plan on executing on as far as them augmenting their bodies to receive a higher station within their particular strata? So
in function, we plan to put them on what is currently labeled Balmori Cyborg. That won't be the name of the stat block. That's just notes for us. And we plan to put some on what's currently labeled Balmori Breacher, which is essentially the Balmori whose job it is to break into enemy ships, to break through the doors. That those two will have cybernetics, and probably the Commodore dude as well. Again, not the name that we're going to use. It's simply there as a way for Nate and I to know, what is this guy supposed to do? Which is command multiple ships. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what a Commodore is. And so the question with the cybernetics is, do they put that kind of resources into their normal guards? In which case that would imply that they have
probably not. Probably not into just a plain old run-of-the-mill guard. I mean, like, These are probably just guys that you stand up in front of a. You just stand them up in front of a breach or something to kind of take the brunt of the attack.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, they're better trained than crewmen in combat. They may get a lucky shot off. 2 of them together, 3 of them together, may be able to overtake one player character. But these are not. Yeah. These are not like top of the line. You don't want to invest a lot of resources in them. They're still very disposable.
Well, then the question becomes phase rifle or maybe a pistol of some sort or the DMR.
I think if they're guards, the phase rifle, so make 2 attacks against a target with long range for 1d12 cold damage. You score a critical hit that attack north. Okay, and then make 2 attacks against targets with long range for 1d12.
Very similar. The changes you crit range.
Okay. I think I like them with the phase rifle. Like, they are guards. That is their job. They would have a long gun.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they would have anything like... I don't think they would have anything above the standard issue long gun. And that's what the phase rifle sounds like to me.
Yeah. And then checking on the incendiary grenade. Okay, so that's a higher level dude who has that option currently. But I'm not opposed to it. All right, so if we give him the rifle,
make an attack I like better for sure.
And then does he carry or does he have some kind of other weapon, and or does he have some other interesting way to contribute to combat?
So does he have another weapon? Like, I've been thinking about the grenades ever since you brought it up. It might make sense to give like every other guard a grenade, but maybe not every guard is issued a grenade. And I don't even know if that really meshes well with their role that I'm sort of envisioning in my head.
Well, that being the case, you just give it to one of these 2.
Yeah.
That's a pretty straightforward way to go.
Yeah.
If we want to have some kind of grenade effect, though a non-lethal one would be interesting. I'll show you an example.
Like flashbang, smoke, stun. Oh, cryo grenade fits the theme for sure.
It does. Let me just get it formatted correctly.
Yeah, I like that actually. Oh, that's perfect. Especially if they're standing up against a breaching force, right? You hold them in place.
Yeah, until
because they're going to come through. They're coming through a very small area that, you know, they're essentially creating a door suddenly in the side of your ship, and it's not going to be all that large. So you just freeze them in place and go from there. I like that a lot. Which means we can give them engineer.
Yes.
Engineering.
Yeah, because I think this is a thing that would be useful if their role is as a blocking force, holding you up until the heavy hitters can get there.
Oh, hey, Heath, what's up?
Hello, Heath.
We are doing so DM Blackwall has been gracious enough to do it's kind of like it's like a devlog almost, right?
Yeah.
So we're creating we're not creating the species, but we're creating the different types of this particular species. So thanks for hanging out.
So I'm thinking for a guard of this sort, it would make sense for him to have some way to be alert, whether it's investigate, intuition, some way to detect threats. And given that his buddy here has investigate, it would make sense to keep that theme.
Okay, sure.
Whether or not that's his +4 is a different question. Because essentially, each of these really low-level stat blocks has 4 skills, and one of their skills is 2 higher than it would be otherwise.
Gotcha.
Representing particularly focused training, natural ability, this kind of thing.
I mean, I would imagine that combat is likely going to fit that particular role, the +2. And it might make more sense that the crewman is more investigative because their job isn't necessarily combat, right? But I don't know. I mean,
potentially, but I think that in most cases, a guard force is actually going to be more oriented towards noticing problems and less oriented towards killing them.
Okay.
Just because of the role, and also we try to avoid putting that on combat unless it's something like, I don't know, a sniper. Say they should be really, really
gotcha.
I think there will be a species where that's an exception, and then for them, when you run into them, it'll just be terrible.
They will shred you, and you will die.
Be like, why do they keep hitting us? You're hitting us even when you roll a 4. Yep. That'll happen. But so for the Viscarans, we had survival on here as a notion. I haven't finalized that yet, but working on it. So that's living off the land, tracking, this sort of thing. That is not something the Balmori are probably good.
Yeah, I don't think that'd be something they're worried about.
But they probably do have some kind of other skill. It could be athletics, like you mentioned. It's probably not commerce. That's not their role. That's not a big thing in their society.
Probably not
computers. Probably not faith for their particular society. It could potentially still be legal, which is what the crewmen also have, where they're very interested in how their society is organized and what
very regimented, and there is a decorum that you must adhere to, which makes sense because there's that stratification. I like that. I like legal.
So I think that one could make sense. Medicine, if they're trying to patch each other up potentially in combat. This isn't a big crime species, so Underworld's probably out. Vehicles would be funny, but probably not their main plan, especially given the nature of the species, where surface vehicles are not a thing they would have naturally developed.
Right.
They might have them now, but it would that would be stealing the idea from somebody else. That would not be a thing they were concerned with, at least on their home world. So, I mean, I could see a couple others, but I think athletics, or legal is probably the best for this particular guy. Which one?
I think that legal sounds better because I think that it's going to tie them up into an overarching cultural theme that I like. I think that athletics is reasonable, but it feels less alive to me. It's like it feels less on theme. So I think I like legal better. I think that your suggestion is the right one.
Okay. Well, I think either could be fine. If it helps, athletics is also for grappling.
Yeah, I'm sure it's for grappling and jumping, and dodge rolling or, whatever they're going to be doing in combat that is some sort of athletic.
So, these guys, whatever we wind up calling them.
I can still see the skill list. I haven't, the screen hasn't.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. There we go.
These guys almost certainly are going to have athletics.
Oh, okay. The Imperial Guard. Well, then let's give the guard, the standard guard, legal.
He doesn't have to have it. I'm just letting you know. Up ahead, there is going to be a dude. Nate was really into this idea of like an elite guard force, particularly to protect the royal family. That those guys probably are good athletics because, among other things, they'd need to grab you to stop you from approaching.
Yeah, sure.
If you're a threat. But that doesn't have to be generally true. So, anyway, thoughts on that? Does that seem...
I mean, it's still like either is reasonable. Either makes sense. I think that it could be either. Personally, I like legal because of the fact that it ties them up into that overarching theme. And I think once we get further, further down, I'll say, once we get like into the deeper ranks, they're the ones that are closer to they're deeper on the planet.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense to begin to sort of differentiate them more. But like these sort of surface dwellers, I like having that theme of, because they're aspirational, right? Like they know they can't move, but there's still that aspirational element to them, even though they're completely expendable. There's an idea of sort of maintaining decorum or aspiring to differentiate themselves at the particular strata that they find themselves occupying. So I do like legal best. I think that was an excellent suggestion. Of course it is. It's your game.
So if we copy this and we go down here and paste it. So let's assume one of these guys manages to become essentially an NCO or a member of an elite force. One, he's going to be a little better at combat, maybe gets a better weapon. But two, his skills are going to improve or potentially diversify, and he's going to probably have like an implant or two. Mm-hmm. So to me, he may or may not need cybernetics, because you can have up to 2 implants without training in the skill. But that probably would be a thing as a possibility to add to the list. Also, if this guy is higher ranked, he's probably survived some stuff. He's probably a little more durable. I don't know if you think jumping to 18 or 24 is going to work better.
To
help you feel the difference between the
I think 18 is a plenty big jump. I think 24 seems monstrous, at least to me. In the context of what we're looking at here, 24 seems really, really large.
Well, if it helps, the player character at that level, that would be roughly equivalent to PC hit points.
Yeah, well, 18 is perfect then. I think that's
24 would be.
Oh, 24 would be PC. Okay.
Would be a tier 2 PC. Yeah. And that's on the low end. They would be probably a little higher.
Okay, so it's not as large a jump as maybe I was expecting.
This guy is basically 6 hit points less than the starting player character.
Gotcha. Let's go with 24. If we want him to feel like beefier, let's go with 24.
Okay. And then light armor probably for this guy still. If he's rolling with the others and is not in a separate unit necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in terms of his abilities, I think probably, if we jump back to that, I think probably subdermal armor I
like the armor one a lot.
Is probably the thing that would be the most obvious. Like in combat, if you're fighting this dude, straight up DR, I think would help him stand out.
Yeah, I agree. He just gets to shrug off 2 damage from the top of every attack. That feels very strong. Especially with the larger health pool.
Yeah. Oops. This, and then I'm going to jump over to another window a sec because I'm trying to remember how because I know I've written up other stuff with damage reduction, and I want to be consistent. I'm trying to remember how I did that. No, okay, that's not helpful. That is correct, but that's not. Let me check a robot. That would probably make sense. Yeah, okay. I'd literally just go in here and say, there. You have damage reduction too. That does the thing. Now I think he's probably equipped with the better gun.
I agree with that.
Befitting his new station. And he's probably got 2 attacks with it. This will feel more dangerous.
Oh yeah, he absolutely feels more dangerous.
In terms of additional equipment, let me think. What else do they have protection from? So they basically they have.
Apologies, Todd. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to say hi to Daryl. Sorry about that.
Please continue. Oh, hey, Daryl. Yeah, it is a different sort of video.
Yeah, it is. It's great though. I'm really into it.
Well, thanks. So basically, this species primarily uses phasic weapons, which the reason they do cold damage is they're firing a projectile that is going into another universe or another dimension, probably another dimension that is very cold, and then is returning to our physical reality. And the upshot is that's why it sometimes ignores absorption and displacement, because those are basically shields and dodging effects.
Yep.
And if it is not in our universe at the moment that it would pass through your shield, it literally just ignores it then.
It just bypasses it, yeah.
Yeah. And the cold damage is a effect of this technology and how it's being used. That's the idea anyway. And so, but they're at the starship scale, they also use weapons that can do solar damage, which is like what a laser would do. And the reason, of course, for this is that they want to be able to fight themselves, or fight someone who is particularly suited against their normal weapons,
because they don't care about the cold.
Correct. And so the question is just, do we want... So this guy probably should have another weapon. Should it be a physical attack, like with a a knife or a claw or like a power claw. That could be kind of cool. Or a power fist, potentially. Or should he also be equipped with a grenade? Basically, he should have some ability to do a different type of damage. And because this, again, helps him actually be dangerous. If
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I like the idea of him being able to close because he's already beefy. He's already ignoring damage. I like the idea of him being able to close to melee. And so I think some sort of melee attack would feel, it would feel really good with this particular type of character or, opponent.
Yeah. Let me quick pull up. Where is that?
Oh, hey, Mike. Thanks for swinging by. We're doing a kind of like a devlog.
Yeah. Let me get these things highlighted real quick. There they are. All right. Close this, close this. So if we jump over to here, here are some melee weapons. I think one of these, Power Claw, Power Gauntlet, would be cool. Would be interesting, I should say. The whip would be kind of odd.
Yes.
For this particular setup. So our target, it has protection from blunt naturally. In terms of his armor, gives him protection from blunt.
Right.
So if he was using this to do a mirror match or to fight other Balmori wearing armor, he probably wants the claw.
I agree.
It'll get past their protection.
I agree. It's also phasic?
It is.
Yeah, so it's phasic. It can penetrate armor. I like that a lot.
Yeah, well, it can penetrate their armor at least, and it can penetrate armor in general if it crits. So even if you have protection from piercing, it could punch through.
Yeah, I like the claw.
Cool.
So it also for a squid man type of character seems like a very I like that because it's not native to their physiology, right?
Yeah. No, I think so. Like, it makes sense as a weapon they would choose to get as compared to just have. And so if we go over here, there we go. For D10 piercing, and then I'm going to find our penetrating weapons, which I think plasma weapons have that text. So if I scroll down here, there we go. Go up to our Balmori friend. That attack ignores, and what I'm going to do is combine these. That's really what it does. Something like that. I assume you can see
it all.
Ignores what?
I said it ignores it all.
Yeah. Yeah, so the power terminology is I can quick show you. So yeah, that gives him a cool melee option. Should he pick his rifle? Yes, he should. His rifle does more damage.
Right.
but the capacity to do something else, I think, is very interesting. Now, if we jump back to the the power prefix is telling you for human weapons, which in this case, so the aliens will use some human equivalent weapons, this being one of them, but they do have their own table of specialized weapons as well. But for the human weapons, if you get like a power sword, same deal, phasic.
Oh, okay.
So the prefix is telling you that it has the phasic property.
Gotcha. Whereas
the chainsword, because that's wildly sci-fi, that is definitely not a real thing, has penetrating. So it can get through armor better, actually, if you crit.
I mean, it's just a differently shaped chainsaw. That's all it is.
Yeah. Which, as a sword, would be terrible in reality.
Yes. Yes.
But in fantasy, in space fantasy, it could be really fun.
Yes.
I like the weirding module from Dune. I don't think the new movies have this. Probably the case, Daryl. Do you know?
I do not. No, I don't.
So if we jump back here, then the question is,
Candace might know. Hey, Candace, do you know what the weirding module from Dune is? First of all, I'm streaming. Hopefully you don't mind. Do you know what the weirding module is in Dune?
I thought that was the one that helped with voice control, but I could be wrong.
Oh, she says she thinks it's the one that helps with the voice control, but doesn't know off the top of her head. Sorry for that.
Yeah, no worries.
It's the sonic weapon. It uses your voice to project a sonic weapon.
Oh, it's a sonic weapon, so it uses your voice to project a sort of sonic weapon.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I won't drag you into the stream without foreknowledge again. Apologies.
Try. Just set out dinner, begin streaming, and
yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
Look,
why is the laptop on the dining room table? No reason. No reason. I'm just watching something.
Should this guy have some kind of maneuver in combat, and we have to still have to clean up his skills, or do you feel that this is enough of an upgrade that he's going to just naturally feel more dangerous?
I think he naturally feels more dangerous, but. No, I think he naturally feels more dangerous. I think this is a good place for him to be. He's a beefier, higher damage sort of. He's definitely a more threatening presence on a battlefield. There's a difference in damage types that he's able to cause, which I think feels really good. I like where he is currently. I think we can keep him here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty good. But I'll give you an example just to actually no, I'll show you an example on the other guy. So the guy next to him, if breacher means what we normally mean. Oops, that goes in a different spot. That goes down here. There. Stop scrolling artificially. It's not what I'm trying to do. Thank you. It's like you want to keep selecting upward, right? No, pretty much never.
No, I don't. Stop telling me what I want to do and listen.
Yep. And then in the maneuvers, just to give you a sense of what his kind of higher level competitor would have.
Mike asks, is this character going to be played at some point? This is a we're developing an alien species, like the different strata of an alien species that will be NPCs, monsters, opponents, those sort of, monsters in quotes. So these are going to be oppositional forces and not necessarily player characters.
Correct. But yes, there are. This game has been in play testing and development for several years, and we had some people over in the last month or two who got to try out Dropship in person, and we have ongoing playtest groups that are meeting weekly, bi-weekly, so on to try out the material and to help catch problems. Because we're writing, a pretty complex game. The intent is for this to be fitting into a 300-page book like we did with Horde Wars Advanced, but that is not to say that it is actually rules light. We're just trying to be very efficient with space and not have you flipping back and forth a lot to understand how something is supposed to work. So an example from D&D would be where an example of doing it badly from D&D would be, for example, in 3rd edition. I think this was true before that as well, but 3rd edition, 5th edition stat blocks where you have a spellcaster with the names of spells and not what they do in the stat block. That means you have to refer to other pages, which by itself isn't like a massive problem, but it becomes incredibly annoying when it's telling you to refer to multiple pages in other books, which was how a lot of the 3rd edition stat blocks were. That is a logistical problem shoved on the game master. Whereas if they had taken a third of the spells and just written them in, that would have really been better. Because you could run the stat block right then from that book, and you wouldn't need other books to play the game at that moment. That sort of thing. We're trying to make it so you don't have to do that. But that's, I think, a pretty obvious one, or at least one that's easy to grasp to go, oh, yeah, in a vacuum, if I were going to design this so that I could use it, I don't want to have to have 4 books open in front of me to run one spellcaster.
That sounds awful.
Yeah.
Hey, BGD, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Oh, it looks like Daryl went ahead and gave us our answer. Sonic beam weapon that translates certain specific sounds into attacks of varying potency. These devices are not present in the original novels by Frank Herbert. Cool.
Yeah, we definitely have sonic weapons in this game. I don't recall if one of them is one of the beam weapons or not, but I can check. Give me a moment. No, we have one, though, that will explode. Or put another way, if you crit, it affects the original target, and that attack is applied against everybody next to him.
Oh, that's good.
And so you could get
or bad, depending on whether or not you're on the receiving end.
Yeah, it could be bad to be on the receiving end. Don't clump up. In a world with grenades and energy weapons, try not to stand in a line or a circle right next to each other. It will not go well. Plus, for that matter, just a cone attack with a machine gun. You're setting yourself up to die. Unless maybe you had what would be the careers? An MP Scion who can or maybe a Tech Knight who can help protect you from attacks and themselves. Then maybe being next to them would be a good idea. But even then, I wouldn't clump up the whole party like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Because what if they can beat whatever protective ability your friend has? Now you're all dead. Yeah, you definitely want to split up and stuff. So anyway, the Breacher dude, the idea here, right? And we should probably wrap this up soon. We've gone about an hour.
Yeah, sure. We can make this the last one. I don't want to take too much of your time. And we've already done 2, and I've already had a ball. I really, really enjoyed this stream. So thank you kindly. When you reached out and offered to do this, I was a bit beside myself. Absolutely, I'm 100% on board for something like this.
That's great, man. I'm glad. This is fun to be able to do, and it's useful also because it helps. It doesn't just help. It doesn't just help me, though that's true. It helps me, talk, bounce ideas off other people and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But it also helps, I think, people who are interested in their own project to think about how to do this sort of thing. Like thinking ahead, going, okay, I want 2 pages of two sets of 2 facing pages, so 8 pages total of baseline stat blocks for the Balmori, ignoring any special cases maybe for like a particular adventure. I want this amount. Well, I want to leave some space for artwork. So that means I need to have some stat blocks that don't occupy the full length of a page. I also want to have as many of these dudes as possible. So that means, if I can, 2 or 3 stat blocks a page. And that gets me somewhere between 8 and 12, probably really between 8 and 9 stat blocks. And then I also want to be able to embed a little of the lore in the stat blocks. We're going to want a separate chunk that writes it out more, but why waste the space? Especially if it's something that could come up when you encounter these guys. Like the stratified society thing, we really need to have a sidebar that talks about that. That's a big deal.
I agree with that for sure.
That the game master should know when he's running these guys.
Yes.
Because
that's going to affect behavior. It'll affect quite a lot of how this particular species or co-species behaves.
Yeah. And yes, to answer your question, Daryl, I would be happy to do a part 2 if Bacon's up for it.
Oh, of course. I
think that would be a lot of fun. So this guy on the left, though, we gotta assume basically that he is somewhat related to the guard, in the sense this could be a guard who got promoted.
Yeah.
Or maybe just a slightly more elite guard, maybe starting from a higher level in the society, or lower for them. Family. That's very possible. But where he had the resources to get a cybernetic implant to protect him. That's pretty cool. But what does he give up? First of all, what skill doesn't he have? The reason, by the way, that they have 4 skills other than actual spacing, because we could always just occupy a second line. That's an option, but is because the NPCs, well, they don't use the same level progression as player characters. They use often the same careers, or bits and pieces from them, and so, but they're a single career, not multiple careers, and they're hyper focused, the NPCs. And so that career would normally provide you with 3 skills, sometimes a 4th. And then you would usually get 1 if you chose to play this game on hard mode, where you also only get 1 career. If you play on hard mode, you would also have that equivalent skill count. And so this basically makes them the thing that sets the players apart from from the normal people in the world is that they have these 2 careers. They have more choices, basically. They're more specialized. Is that the word?
Yeah.
But the players don't typically have particularly more hit points. They don't have, they're not like, that's really their only edge. They don't have better saving throws. They don't have better anything to start with. They have to earn it. It's just the 2 career thing that really helps set them apart. And compared to like an average guard, you have an extra 6 hit points. But that is not the average opponent in the world. If you run into a monster on an alien world, it almost certainly has more hit points than that. Unless it's like a parasite or like a swarm of insects, or an average sized bird.
Yeah.
So for this dude,
so what skill does he not have?
Exactly.
So we're talking about the Breacher, correct?
We're talking about the cyborg.
Oh, the cyborg. Okay. Oh, well, I think this is really easy then, right? I think that maybe getting rid of legal works the best, because if the idea is that he is attempting to sort of differentiate himself or make himself, lower as far as status is concerned, lower within the context of the species and how they view things.
Yeah.
Then it might make sense to remove legal, because it's a sort of a self-driven. It's not a matter of the culture that is putting this particular individual in their particular position. It's a matter of self-determinism, which is kind of ignoring their culture to at least a degree, right?
Right.
But that having that legal there is a very strong unifying element for this particular species. So I don't know if that's good enough. If we're not doing the breacher, engineer might make sense too. They don't necessarily need to be good with explosives.
Right. So
one of those
engineer would go, because he has no reason to roll it. So even if he were trained, it's not relevant to the stat block.
Oh, okay, I see. Because there's no explosives. Right. Okay.
Because we didn't give him any explosives. So
right. Okay.
What's he? Why are we providing that information? Which would be, what can this guy do? I think that this alone could be fine, but I wonder if. Let me quick look and see the equivalent dude for the.
Yeah, sure.
For the. Okay. So the Squeeze Sergeant. Fear his. I actually have a figure for this. I made him. I took a Warhammer head, I think, for like a human soldier of some sort, and I stuck it on the body of a damaged D&D goblin. So I removed I think the goblin's head was actually messed up, which is why I picked that figure. And then I actually attached a bunch of like a rope and like a knife, and he's got a laser gun. But this was originally a damaged D&D figure, either by Wizards of the Coast or by WizKids.
That's cool.
That
That's very fun.
Modified and built around to make the Squeeze Sergeant, and he's even got sergeant stripes on one
Oh,
shoulder.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, I think this guy should be able to do something with his implants. I don't think he should just be boring.
I agree. Do we give him a maneuver?
Probably. And I'm trying to think about what would be the most interesting, what would be the coolest, or what would fall in line. Like this guy's not a space pirate. He's not like a social manipulator. He's also not, at least he's not an engineer or a grenadier. That's not his thing. But maybe you look back at his weapons. So he's really good at penetrating defenses, basically.
Yes.
So we could give him an ability that lets him just do that as a maneuver. So if he doesn't crit, he could burn it. Use the maneuver to get through. That's not optimal, but it's an option. He's not really a commander. He could. Let's see. What could be interesting, maybe. I mean, being able to push out an extra die of damage could be good. on attacks, like on an attack, he could do an extra die. I think that could be interesting.
I mean, compared to the other two, this makes him feel unstoppable, really, right?
Yeah,
compared to the other two.
Yeah, compared to the other two. But the other two are basically chaff before a full party. Yeah. Could they kill you? Absolutely. Are they likely to kill you? No.
No.
Let me see what other cool options. I can look back through. Let me quick glance at our combat features as well, because it might be that this guy isn't really mirroring a class or a career type thing, but maybe he's essentially a self-made man, as it were, where he's got abilities as though there were another career that is particular to this species. For example, the ability to potentially shove you and knock you prone with a melee attack would incentivize him to be good at that. Run and gun as a maneuver would make him want to be mobile on the battlefield, so he's constantly moving and shooting and not holding still. The same would be true for Furious Charge for the melee end. He could be good at hiding rapidly. It's not really what we talked about there, but it's an option.
I mean, I like the way Furious Charge sounds. I mean, it sounds like he's good at range, very good at range, but then also can be like just explode into melee combat, just run at you and start to claw at you. That sounds very cool.
It does. So let's look at that. So this maneuver is a feature that player characters can pick up if they meet the prerequisites. So the players will recognize the ability. This will not be a surprise. That he has it might surprise them.
Right.
But that it exists in the game is going to be not a shock.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. So what do you think about this?
That's horrifying. I agree. I love it. The deadlier, the better. I show up to RPG sessions not expecting to live through them.
Well, it makes him want to do something really specific.
Yeah. Yeah, he wants to shoot at you while you're at distance or while you're at range.
Yeah.
And then he has an opportunity or has the ability to close.
Yeah.
I like that. I like it a lot. It feels really good. It feels very cyborgy. He can ignore damage. He ignores 2 damage off the top. I like it a lot. Yes, this is a horrifying cyborg squid man.
Yes. And then there's one other thing that we need to do with the Balmori that I forgot to do earlier. And that has to do with their physiological side, their physical nature. And so let me quick find a example, probably from here. Yes, copying and pasting is a wonderful thing. When you had to do this by typewriter, oh my goodness. That would be terrible.
Yes. Yeah, typesetting, typewriting. Typesetting's easier to deal with than typewriting, but even still, that's quite a lot of manual work.
Yeah. So for the Balmori, even if these guys don't have even if these guys breathe normal air, and I think they do, these might be not aquatic, but amphibious in terms of the breathing needs. Or they might just really need an atmosphere. Either of those is fine. The deep Balmori really need to be truly aquatic or amphibious in terms of their capabilities of breathing.
I agree with that. It makes sense.
Surface Balmori could go either way. However, they all need a swim speed.
They do.
And it probably should be faster than their land speed because they're naturally aquatic.
Oh, that's even more like, so Furious Charge is if you've moved 6 combat spaces in a turn, you can make a melee charge. Now I can move it 8 because it's at least 6, right?
Yeah.
So I'm moving it 8. I'm just trucking. I'm booking at you and going to swipe at you with a claw. That's even scarier.
Oh, that's what got me thinking about it. Where I'm like, these guys really should have another form of movement.
Yeah.
At least. And potentially the amphibious end. And for that, what I would do with the stat blocks is I would remove stand fast if we decide to go that route for spacing purposes and put that another place. I think this is a really good ability, but we also have to think about the larger, does this fit on a page?
Yeah, that makes sense.
However, I'm not sure that we'll go that route, so that's something that I want to consider either for next time. Actually, yeah, that's probably a good thing to consider for next time. Is the Surface Balmori, are they aquatic? Or are they amphibious? Or are they truly just normal air breathers? Unless you have a firm opinion right now. I think that's the...
Oh, I thought that they were amphibious.
Well, yeah. That is the intent in terms of how they live.
Yeah.
But may or may not be true in terms of like game mechanics. For example,
right.
They could be quite dependent, in fact, on the atmosphere.
Yeah. I think that's definitely something to consider for next time. And I will be, I'm sure, kicking that around. I will likely toss you a message here or there about it too. I'm very invested now, of course.
That sounds good. Mike M sounds horrifying. I think he's talking about the swimming and if they're aquatic and you are stupid enough to fight them like by a river, now you're in a much worse shape.
Oh, much.
You're unlikely to fight them on an ocean. It would be a very odd situation in a sci-fi space combat and going to enemy worlds and retaking lost colonies and this kind of thing. It would be an odd situation, a kind of a perfect storm to have you be on a ship fighting them or on the ocean. But rivers, lakes, that could very much happen.
Yeah.
Or even just like a cryovolcano. They have significantly less problems with cold. They could potentially come up through one.
I didn't even know cryovolcanoes were a possibility.
I mean, they're a real thing in life here. They're not on Earth, but they are. We observe them on planets in our solar system.
That's another thing for me to look up. That's really cool.
And it's the same idea basically as a volcano. It's just it's water and ice and it as the materials, and obviously stuff mixed into the ice, so that you'll have different levels of melting points, essentially.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just did a quick Google search on cryovolcano. It's definitely a thing.
Yeah. So now, one interesting thing with that is that they may or may not be spitting out water, right? It might be that they're spitting out ammonia.
Oh, sure.
or a mixture of water, ammonia, and methane, which is not so good for humans.
No, can't drink that.
No, but these creatures could potentially, even if they wouldn't drink it, could potentially survive the trip.
Yeah.
In which case, you could be walking along across an icy surface with some steam vents or some cryovolcanoes, and Balmorey could suddenly be popping up through the ice in these gaps, in these water sources. Then that could be an interesting fight.
I agree. It certainly could be.
Plus, it would give them a extraction method. Go dive back into the steam vent, or
yeah, hit and run. Got those hit and run tactics in a cryovolcano.
That'd be pretty sweet.
It would be.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. Well, thanks, man. This was really fun. And if
thank you. I agree. I had quite a lot of fun doing this. It's I've not ever done a dev journal type stream. I'm very, very grateful that you offered. I had quite a lot of fun. I think that chat had quite a lot of fun being here and asking the questions, viewing. I do hope that people do swing by to take a look at it. The recording. Because I'm very excited as excited as I am about Horde Wars, I'm very excited for Dropship as well. So, you mentioned the superhero game, so I'm on board for all of it, and I just having an opportunity to sit here and kind of talk shop and go through the motions and figure out what these guys are really about and how to make that manifest in game mechanics. I'm just really very grateful. So thank you so much for the offer. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. So, if you are interested in these games, there are links in the description below directly to Blackwall Games website, which I think is the preferred method.
Yes.
But there's also drive-through if you need to add a PDF to your library or something like that. I purchased my books through the website. I went to Blackwall Games. So if you're interested, if you haven't already gotten Horde Wars or Horde Wars Advanced, I recommend Advanced. And it's a joy to read. I haven't even played the game yet, but it's a joy to read. I'm very excited to get into my first game. I may end up being the one who runs it. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But Dropship, equally as impressive, equally as exciting. So thank you again for this opportunity. And I'm looking forward to having you back. I'll have you back as many times as you want to, come on.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'd love to do this again and try to, if you can, in the comments, folks, write some suggestions or some things that you'd be interested in seeing in this type of content so that Bacon knows what to ask.
Yeah, for sure.
Or what to push on. And, let us know your opinion. Do you think of this species from this world? Do you think that that it would be more fun for the weaker of the two species to be dependent on the atmosphere, which makes them getting sucked into space all the more horrifying?
Yes.
Or should they be truly aquatic or truly not aquatic, truly amphibious, and essentially be able to be in or out of the water, and to basically for interesting combat encounters? I think either one could be quite a lot of fun, and I'm not sure which would be best.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so please do load up the comments, and we'll I'll start reading through and collecting questions or pressure points for next time. I think that's a really great suggestion. So thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Well,
all right. I think this is it. We've almost crossed the 2-hour mark. I think this is my longest live stream ever. So thank you, DM Blackwall. Thank you for chat, the participation, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thank you again. And I'm clicking end, and you're going to look at my dumb face for like 5 seconds or so. But
have a good night.